All right, time for it's been way too long. It's been like weeks, man, of a Mookie and Bull in the basement, for God's sake. Are you in your basement?
Nope, not in the basement, but it feels like it though. Nice and comfortable.
It's good to see you, my man. It's been a long time. I think the last time we talked was right before the combine.
Yeah.
So catch us all up. I mean, everybody that follows you all over the place on social media probably already knows. But for those people that don't, catch us up on not so much like the 40 times and the drills and who and like take me through like just the experience of being at the combine, like interacting with other media members, both, people from Buffalo, but also national media members, right? Like being able to take in Indianapolis and everything that they have there and all of that. And then of course, obviously everything else that goes on with all the training and the press conferences with the coaches and the GMs and all of that. I mean, like walk us through it, man. Cause I've never been, you've been multiple times.
Man, it's like being a kid in the candy store, man. It's like media heaven, football, NFL heaven, if you will, because everybody who's anybody is there. And, they're in plain sight, they're standing right next to you. And, you get a chance to like see it on a whole nother level. It's beyond, what I do with the Bills and covering with my colleagues. But you're there with everybody that you see on ESPN, everybody that you see on NFL Network. You see just about every coach and GM. You see just about every staff member, every owner. Then, you got the top prospects around. So who's who and what's what in the NFL is definitely in Indy. And it's a great time because, just the overall ambiance of Indianapolis at that time is just like, it's just awesome, man. And when you go out to eat, you're going out to eat, and then you might be Jerry Jones there,
Right.
talking with his coaching staff or whatever the case may be. You got agents as well that be there, and it's just an overall good atmosphere, overall good experience. Great networking. You got all NFL teams represented there. So One Bills Live is there with Steve Tasker and Chris Brown and those guys. So, you always get some good insight on, what they have to say about things and what's happening. But then again, you hear that from everybody, what I mean? So it's just like, you can hear anything that's going on as far as these guys' medicals, what they talking in depth about Pacific players, Pacific trades is going on, or, who's going where in free agency before it happens. So you get a lot of good, juicy stuff down at the NFL Combine, man. And I enjoyed every bit of it.
I bet. Who did you get to St. Elmo's or no?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's right soon when you walk out the doors, one block and it's right there. St. Elmo's, they came actually to the convention center and did a little quick display.
Wow.
For all the media. I guess they, for lunch they had they was giving out these examples of the shrimp with the St. Elmo's cocktail sauce.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely wake you up. If you're ever down in Indianapolis, make sure you try St. Elmo's out. Make sure you try Harry's and Izzy's. Those are two of my favorite places to go to.
They're awesome, and make sure that your wallet's full of money when you go.
That's the reason. Reasonable prices, though. I mean, and it's not too pricey, but reasonable prices. Shout out to Kilroy's too. They took care of us.
Right on. Right, that's awesome. I know that you obviously were part of a lot of the pressers with a lot of the players. Who of the ones that you saw in person with your own eyes were you most impressed by?
Let's see. Just a period, just prospect period, or a guy that the Bills got an eye for?
Prospect period, yeah, because I know you were there with 99 from Georgia, and I heard from a lot of people that he was like the biggest human being they've ever seen.
Yeah, I took a picture with the biggest human being ever seen, and he made me look like I was a troll or something like that. That's how huge he is. But I would have to say him. There's a lot of guys that spoke quite well. If you just want to get a judge of character just by the way they talk, it was quite a few guys, but he definitely stood out. Him being 6'7", 340 pounds, and able to speak with a good head on his shoulders, and the football aspect pretty much take care of itself. So I was impressed by him. Malik Willis, I just like his whole demeanor, how he is just himself. He's just keeping it real, on his game and, his views on things. Who else? Who else is pretty? I like James Cook from out of Georgia.
Yeah.
I like James Cook. He come with a little sense of humor, but you can tell he mean business. But he's more relaxed, calm, and cool. You can tell like he's always used to these type of things. You know what I mean? You can always see who's a PR'd up guy than opposed to someone who isn't. So you got some guys who didn't even partake in the interview process because they don't handle questions well.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got that out of a few guys this year. Then it's obviously that medical that's gonna make you late to the media session. There was a few of that going on. Kenny Pickett started that when they was trying to every team want to touch his hand. So that took about an extra hour. We had to wait for him to speak with him for an extra hour, and it kind of went that way for a few guys that was hot on the combine radar as far as the media portion goes, but medical was holding those guys up. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's quite the deal coming out here, because if medical, all 32 doctors from each team want to examine you and touch on you, pull on you, try to make sure everything is intact before you get red flag for something that you didn't even have no clue that you had. So I get it, what I mean, but it was worth the wait.
It's funny. I mean, they talk about guys, their hand size, and linemen, their length, especially tackles, and how long their arms are and all of that. It's like, come on, man. Like, if you can play, you can play, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm doing a podcast with you, so that's how much I know. But still, it sounds really silly to me. Like, there's the tape. That's what he can do against guys that are NFL size, maybe not NFL caliber or talent, but still, he's got his arms are too short. Yeah, but look, he still can do this. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but that stuff, it kind of matters though. When you figure, if you go, so let's say for a tackle, right, and he has short arms, not the NFL average for average tackle, and then you look at guys like Von Miller, right? You look how long he is and stuff like that. I mean, even if it's even Steven, even if the tackle has NFL size length arms, it's still Von Miller over here. So it kind of has its points, because you got to forget, boy, we living in an analytical world, man.
Yeah.
So measurables and numbers and, screw the physicality part. They just took that out of the window. It's all numbers now. So I guess it kind of do matter to some extent, right. Someone in the office made that one up.
Thank you. Because I'm just like, I've had it with analytics. I hear so many people. Well, I mean, there are stats that I have never heard. I consider myself a little bit educated when it comes to football and sports, but man, some of these like next gen stats so there's next gen stats, but then there's like next. Hold on, I'm falling off my chair. Gen stats, right? That are like, this guy on, 3rd and 18, in a certain set did X. Like, what? Like, it's nuts how intricate and specific these guys are now getting with their analytics. And I like it when guys say, I'm going to take the analytics for what they are, for what they're worth, but I'm also going to take the tape for what it is. I got to take my conversations with them for what it is. So all of them have their percentages, right? And sometimes I feel like, especially some people in our business, use the analytics to an extent where you're like, really? Like, I mean, okay, that's fine. You can quote that, but come on, let's watch the guy play. So
right. I'm with you on that. I know what my eyes see. You know what I mean? I don't need a piece of paper. You telling me, on this situation and 3rd down, this person normally does this. I'm going to tell you what my eyes just saw. You know what I mean? So there's my analytical eyes is going to tell you what I saw. And it's nothing that your piece of paper can change that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd have been in a few arguments about that, boy. So yeah,
I'm on your side. I got your back. I got your back on that one. 100%. It's even like the 40 time, right? Well, a guy's 4.4 or a guy's 4.5. right? It's 1/10 of 1 second. It's not about like the flat out clock. It's about how that guy moves, right? And it's about how that guy reacts to the guy on the other side. Yes, speed is speed, and you can't be taught. We know all that cliche, but like, it's more about the player, how he's coached, how he executes, in my opinion, than the actual clock, whatever the 40 time says.
Well, the 40 is more or less straight line speed. It's not like he's doing a pose and then he gotta, make defenders miss. It's a lot of things that come along with that. Now, if he's out in open space, okay, yeah, he's suspected to run his 40 time. You know what I mean? If he's not around nobody, if you don't have to dip around nobody or do anything, to make nobody miss, then okay, straight line speed, it's a foot race after that. And that's where you suspect his 40 time to kick in.
That's
to
right.
Pull away from guys. But some guys are more quick than fast. And that's another,
right.
You know what I mean? That's another difference,
Yeah. Like, I would say, I'm going to get killed for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think Tyreek Hill is more quick than fast. Or maybe he's just both.
He's a cheater.
Yeah, he's just exceptional, right? He's just that. He's just that good. He's both. But and we definitely will talk about him.
I could tell you one though. I could tell you one. Devin Singletary, right?
Yeah.
Is he more quick than fast? Here it is. He his 40 time is just a 4.6. That's relatively slow, especially for a guy his size.
Right.
But I have not seen Devin Singletary get tackled from behind. You know what I mean? Not too many times. You know what I mean? Like, so is he more quick than fast? I've seen him break away from some people too. So that lets you know, in some phases of the game, it matters, but then again, it doesn't.
He also, by the way, has not had very many opportunities to break away from people. I mean, you got to have like a hole and, an alley and a lane to go and break away from people. Unfortunately, he hasn't had that very much in the last couple of years. So, okay. Combine was great. You loved it. It was fun. I think you watched Jameson Williams, right? You heard him talk. What did you make of him? Cause I know, gosh, man, you hear everybody on radio and a lot of the national people saying, man, I mean, watch out for Jameson Williams. And he's a guy to pay attention to, especially with the Bills, especially with the fact that, again, let's go back to that speed. When he's fully repaired, and let's hope he gets to that place, he is that burner guy that the Bills don't really have in terms of deep threat. I know Crowder's quick. I know Isaiah McKenzie's really quick, but they're also they're not really sizable in terms of what Jameson Williams is, right?
Right. Jameson Williams is about 6'2", 6'3". He's definitely a person of interest from the Bills, and the interest is mutual. He can blow the top off of defense, and that's something that's been lacking, with the Buffalo Bills. You got Stephon Diggs, you got Gabe Davis, but, only perimeter speed out there where you have is Stephon Diggs. But if you double him, take that away, then what we're dealing with, So we need that speed burner that, with some size. Okay, that no more 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" guys. Get us a guy that Josh can see normally down the field, that he can, be a little bit more, be accurate with down the field at 6'2", 6'3", with speed that teams are going to have to respect. So Jameson Williams definitely fit the mold, but there's other receivers in this year's draft that fit the mold as well. You got Chris Olave, you got Jahan Dotson. You can see a good 6 to 7 receivers come off the board in the first round. This is definitely a wide receiver draft. So, you see guys like Tyreek Hill getting traded because of that,
Right.
If it wasn't a wide receiver draft, Kansas City wouldn't have been too quick to get rid of them. But, you could kind of replace them in certain phases of it during this draft.
It's going to be, I mean, everyone's talking about that too. I mean, and we'll get to that in a little bit about Hill leaving and what Kansas City does in his stead. So, okay, you mentioned size. What do you know? I mean, you're around the Bills way more than I am. What's the deal with Isaiah Hodgins? Can he be a guy? Can he be similar to Gabe Davis and kind of come out of nowhere and be an impact player? Like, what's his deal?
I think his deal is more or less okay. He's came in development project, nagging little injuries, but when you look at it, here it is. He was a 6th round pick. So you got guys like Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. You got Gabe Davis, who was drafted higher than he was. You got Stephon Diggs. You got Isaiah McKenzie. You got Kumaro, who's a veteran. So, he's kind of like low man on a totem pole, but he is a draft pick. He has flashed at camp, so maybe this is the year they take the training wheels off him and see what they got in reference to him as too. I think, he's definitely going to get a good look to see where his development is, because he has looked good at practices in the beginning of the season during training camp, but he always get those nagging injuries. He had shoulder injury, and it was another injury he had right before season started. So this is maybe the year they got to look at him. I mean, he's the biggest guy on the team, 6'4", can be a red zone guy, can run some routes. I mean, like I said, he definitely looked good. He can be a steal, but we don't know what we're getting out of him because he hasn't been on the field to play, because he's been basically stockpiled by so many guys that the Bills have on the roster, but they don't have as many as they have had in the past. So, look to see him to get a definite opportunity in training camp, and a good look to see, where's his development gone this far.
What is your opinion on, when Brandon Beane and his crew, it's their pick at 25, provided they haven't picked out or traded out of it. Everybody says it's either, best player available or need, based on what their board looks like. And nobody knows what their board looks like, right? The only people that know what their board looks like are the people in their war room. So for you, I mean, what do we do? Like, if 99 from Georgia is at 25 and he's like their guy at that place, best player available, like I'm just me personally, I'm not going there based on everything they've done. I love Phillips, bringing him back, man. That guy is active. He's excited to be here. He was great when he was here before. You get Jones in. Obviously, you got Ed Oliver. You get Tim Settle. I don't know what he's going to be super capable of. He hasn't put up remarkable numbers, but he's still a huge person in the middle of that defensive line. So I don't know. It's such a tough thing to make a decision on when your guy at 25, like the guy that they think is the 25th best player that's still there when you're about to pick, is a guy that's, there's still depth there. So what do you do? Because I don't know. Personally, I think corner's a massive issue unless the Bills go get Hayden or Gilmore, or I know there's a couple of other free agent corners that are pretty good still out there. But unless they get Hayden or Gilmore, we don't know what Trey White's going to look like when he comes back. Everybody hopes he's what he's always been, but you don't know that, right? And then what do you got? Then you got Dane Jackson, and then you got Cam Lewis against Tyreek Hill in the division now, right? I mean, I think corner has got to be and there's a lot of corners that are ranked from most of the mocks I've seen really high. I think the Bills throw out everything unless either the right wide out or the right corner is there at 25. What do you think?
Or if you got a guy that you coveted, go get him. I mean, what are we waiting on? We making these big splash moves. Obviously, it's Super Bowl or bust for Bills.
Yep.
So why would we go and get a guy that we have to develop, but he has to start and learn on the fly? If we're going to do that, go get the best guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would try to move up. If my guy Sauce is there from Cincinnati at 12, then I'm looking to move up to go nab. I mean, I'll use our pick from this year in our first round pick for next year, because that's going to round out to be anywhere between, you don't want it to be the last pick in the next year's draft anyway.
Yeah.
And so that pick can be expendable to move up to get a guy that, is the best corner out there, coming up. You bring Trey back. He's on pace to come back, but I'm not sure if he's going to be ready week one. The Bills, even if he is ready, I doubt if he plays week one. I think the Bills are just going to bring him back as slow as possible. And then just getting back to your normal self is going to take 2023, before you really start getting back into your old self with that knee and all. So cornerback is definitely essential now when you look at the moves that the Bills have made in free agency.
And the AFC in general, just the AFC.
Yeah, just the AFC with all these receivers and new quarterbacks out here. You definitely got to get corners. We're in a desperate need for corners. And yeah, guys like Gilmore is out there, but Gilmore, you want the bag, or do you want to stake at winning another championship?
Right. So you got Trey Waynes out there. There's definitely NFL guys that are out there and available. But I don't know. Again, this is why Bean is so good. It's crazy to think, as good as the Bills are, that first round pick is going to be super difficult for them because there is a lot of talent there in need positions. Right. And additionally, there could be guys that are on their board that drop to 25. Like, what if, I don't know where he's ranked anymore at linebacker, but if Dean from Georgia is there, I mean, I would love to get another linebacker on this team. I mean, I know they bring in Lee from the Raiders. He had a couple of good years back in 17 and 18, but man, the last couple of years have been really down for him. I don't know what his potential is, but I'd love to get another active playmaking linebacker here.
Right. We definitely do need that as well. I mean, when you get rid of AJ Klein, you don't replace him. You're not sure if we're going to, what we're going to do with Tremaine Edmonds. Matt Milano, you re-sign him, but he's injury prone. So cornerback, linebacker are the two things right now that's essential on the Bills right now. It's defense, especially, number one defense. You got one of the, on paper, you got one of the best defensive lines right now in the NFL. I would say top 5 right now, just on paper. And coming back as the number one ranked defense, you got 2 pro safeties. So corner and linebacker is something that definitely needs to be addressed. And then on the offensive side, you always can use more receivers, a running back, and we need some guards.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna flip it over to the offense, but I'll do it after I ask you about Von Miller. I mean, there doesn't appear to be any drop off in that guy, right? I mean, he's going to be an impact player right out of the gate, or at least he should be, right?
Oh, without a doubt. They're not paying him $17 million, $52 million guaranteed, not to, and it was kind of surprising to me because Brandon Beane said that, that they weren't going to go out and spend a lot of money on free agents or make any big splashes. But, they are the best at smoke screening. One thing I can't say about the Bills since the McDermott era started, they do a lot of body bluffing out there. You got to read it between the lines, because obviously when you do look at it, it kind of makes sense because the Bills, the biggest eyesore is not getting to the quarterback. They've been stressing that for, the past 2 seasons on we got to get to the quarterback. We're not getting to the quarterback. They invested money in Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes to get to the quarterback. That hasn't happened. They invested draft picks in AJ Espinosa and Gregory Rousseau and Boogie Basham. The jury is still out on them. But once again, boy, they don't have time to wait. So what do? You go get the best pass rusher available in the game, and then free agency, it wasn't that many top tier, pass rushers. You got Chandler Jones, and then you have Von Miller. Then when you look at the draft, there's not that many top tier pass rushers needed. They're all going to be gone in the top 10.
Right.
So the Bills had to speak now or forever hold their peace. If they wanted to solve their problem on the edge, you go get one of the best guys in the game, even though it's going to cost you money, but you get what you pay for. And hopefully the Bills should, get a nice piece that'll help them get to the Super Bowl and Von Miller.
I know you talked to Shaq Lawson. We're taping this on what day is it? The 24th. You talked to him earlier today. I'm curious, like, is Shaq Lawson a guy? I mean, you just read off all the edge guys. Is he a guy they maybe look to move inside on this defense and maybe have a little bit more activity on the inside, a more athletic guy on the inside to go with the guys we already mentioned that they acquired on the inside?
Well, like I said before, they got a great rotation. I mean, like when you figure, okay, just say for instance, you can start Shaq Lawson and Boogie Basham as your ends to shut down the run. I mean, they're great run stoppers. Shaq is, he's a run stopper first. He can get after the passer. I mean, he had a career year in sacks his last year in Buffalo under Leslie Frazier's scheme. He is strong enough to play inside, but his strong suit is more stopping and run. So you might just bring Vaughn in sometimes as a situational pass rusher.
Yep.
Go get the quarterback. And you'll start off with Boogie Basham, or you can start Rousseau. It don't matter. They got a good rotation to choose from, right? So I'm just gonna say Boogie Basham, Shaq, Jordan Phillips, Ed Allen.
There you go. On first down.
That could shake out like that. And then you rotate on the pass rushing side with, you need that interior, but you just bring in Von Miller and Greg Rousseau or Epineza and Von
Jerry
Miller.
Hughes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Jerry Hughes.
So he's still here.
Yeah.
So they have a gifted group for sure at edge rusher now for sure. All right, let's flip it over. I'm going to start with Duke Johnson. What do you like about Duke Johnson?
I like Duke Johnson. He gives us a feisty back with some speed. That's one thing that's been lacking with the Bills. They haven't had any speed. Once again, Devin Singletary 4.6, Zach Moss 4.6. They was just victim of a bad run scheme last year. So you can't really judge them. I mean, even for Singletary, this is his third year. But you could look at it from the year before, it was just bad. Is it a bad scheme or is it just a sophomore slump? But when they finally, started doing things that Devin Singletary is more comfortable with, you started seeing, the run game flourish, and then you start seeing the offense thrive a little more because you had to pay attention to the running back now, and then Josh Allen running the ball. So hopefully, I know for a fact that's going to be a different recipe because of the offensive line coach and Aaron Cromer. He's a more smash mouth power style Mauler type of coach, so they're not going to be playing soft and passive with a zone type of run. There's just going to be more downhill in your face run style. And you're going to see a better Devin Singletary because of that. And obviously you're going to see a guy like Duke Williams eating this system. But once again, I think the Bills are still going to draft another running back as well.
Yeah, I would think so too. They just don't have, Zach Moss just hasn't shown that he can be between the tackle guy with the vision and the feet that you really need to be a between the tackle guy, right? And he just hasn't shown that to be like an average NFL. I think Singletary and Duke Johnson are smaller for running back sizes. Zach Moss is more of an average NFL running back, and yet he just does not show, for me anyway, the footwork and the vision to be a guy that you can rely on to get 4.5 yards of carry every time. I just haven't seen it. And I don't know if that's by virtue of, like you said, scheme, offensive line, the way it was sort of juggled and thrown together at certain points of the season. But he just hasn't shown it. I want to see a guy like you said, a 6'1", 215, 220 kind of guy who has quickness, who has vision, who can elude, who can find small gaps in spaces and generate, yards after contact. Okay, I'm asking for the perfect running back. Sorry. But, but that's the kind of guy I'm looking for. I want a Jonathan Taylor guy who maybe doesn't have that level ability, but maybe is approaching it, right? And that's the kind of guy I'd love to see them get at some point in the draft, whether it's second, third, fourth round, right?
Right. And you got to put the backs that fits the mold in that regard. First back, everybody saying out of Iowa State is Breece Hall. 6 foot. It's a whole bunch of running backs right now that's 6'1", 220, 225. It's about 6 of them. You got Bryce Hall from Iowa State. You got Kenneth Walker from Michigan. He's not 6 foot, but he's one of the top backs coming out of college this year at Michigan State. Very productive, and he can catch. He's good with his hands. He can make you miss in space. So he's those two guys are top 2 backs right now. You got Isaiah Spiller from out of Texas Tech. You got Brian Robinson from out of Michigan. You have Rashad White out of Arizona State. You got James Cook from out of Georgia. So there's going to be a lot of running backs that's going to be available, in those later rounds that the Bills could go ahead and select. You got Kyron Williams from out of
Notre Dame.
You got out of Notre Dame. You have Pierre Strong from out of North Dakota State, and these guys are running 4.3s for crying out loud, That's something that we need, a guy with some size and some speed and got some good hands, a bigger body that can help protect your quarterback in pass pro situations. You know what I mean?
Were you surprised by Jamison? You talked to Jamison Crowder too, so I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what he told you. But were you at all surprised by that? I figure they re-signed McKenzie, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's cool. There's your slot guy. We saw what he did against New England. Now, granted, the big New England game that he had, the career, 11 catches or whatever he had, was against a 7th or 8th guy in the depth chart corner because everyone was hurt that game for New England, right? So the Bills were smart. They took advantage of a mismatch, clearly. But I thought when I saw that out of Isaiah McKenzie, he may have, and when they re-signed him, and knowing Beasley probably wouldn't be here, I thought, well, maybe that's your slot guy, and maybe he still maintains, obviously, a special teams role in the return game. And then they get Jamison Crowder. Now, Jamison Crowder's a little bit different of a guy, right? And certainly in terms of accommodate or a comparison between him and Beasley, much more productive.
Yeah, right. Definitely much more productive, much younger, and that
Right.
too. So, like I said, we commend Cole Beasley and what he's done, and him helping Josh develop into the quarterback that he has. We give him tons of credit for that. But right now, the business side outweighs the overall production of what he's been doing as of late. He has the production is there, 82 coaches last year, 82 catches the year before, but the decrease in yards, the decrease in yards after catch is something that the Bills really need in that regard going forward. And I don't know if it's due to him being a little older, him being nicked up, or whatever the case. And the hands are there. Now Josh Allen definitely was going to him on third downs, and he definitely delivered. But yards after catch and one touchdown can't pay you $6 million at that point. I mean, when you get a guy like Jamison Crowder for a 1-year deal, $2.5 million, that could go up to $4 million. Right now, I mean, Isaiah McKenzie and him are pretty much getting the same pay, and his market value carried $12 million this year. He could have easily went to another team for $10 million right now.
Isn't that amazing? The value Josh Allen is now showing, right?
Yes.
I'll take $10 million less than I'm worth to play with Josh Allen and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's crazy, but it makes sense. And it's I think if you're a longtime Bills fan, like the both of us are, it's head shaking. You're like, this is really happening in Buffalo. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I never thought it wouldn't. It is.
Buffalo's contagious. It's contagious.
So McKenzie now with Crowder here. I mean, I don't anticipate both those guys. I mean, I guess they could be in a set where you could have two guys in the slot on each sides if you wanted to. But I'm assuming that Isaiah McKenzie will just kind of go back to being sort of that gadget guy in a rotational fourth or fifth or sixth guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, or you can have them both out there. Who's to say that they both can't be out there? There's all types of packages, that you can put together with that. What I mean? So you never know. Then there's always injuries too. So they got him under contract for 2 years, but when you can't turn down a guy like Jamison Crowder for $2.5 million.
Nope.
You got to go get that guy. But I still feel that the Bills are going to get another guy in the draft. I'm not sure if it is going to go in the first round and do it, or they go in the later rounds. There's still some guys out there that have some size that that's still some speed burners out there. You got Alex Pierce from out of Cincinnati, 6'3", great size, 200 pounds, and runs a 4.4 40. You got Christian Watson from out of North Dakota State, 6'4", 225 pounds. He's running 4.3s. So there's some guys out there that the Bills that definitely will be there in first round, second round, third round that they can choose from. Keep in mind we got OJ Howard now too.
Oh my God! Thank you for bringing him up, because for me, I mean, we all love Von Miller. I mean, it's Miller time. It's great, whatever. But I gotta tell you, OJ Howard came in the same day as Von Miller, and I was jacked up for OJ Howard. I was like, man, this poor guy. He was the 18th overall pick or something like that in the first round for the Bucs. He gets hurt. Brait develops. Gronk comes in. So now there's no place for OJ Howard. So he's never had an opportunity to really develop and show the kind of all around, 5'2", whatever guy he is. He's massive. He can block. He can run like the wind. He's got great. I mean, my God, this for changes scenery. This guy could be. Not to say I want to take more balls away from Dawson Knox, because clearly he's been fantastic, but I think OJ Howard can be great for this team.
Yes. In a heartbeat, he could be. I asked Bean about that, and he was like, well, maybe they can, do that 12 personnel how they was in Carolina with Jeremy Shockey and Greg Olsen. Those guys running down the seam, especially when you doing that RPO, you pulling it out of there and Oh, you'll pick your poison and who you want to
Yep.
double. Don't forget we got Stephon Diggs out there too. So
Right.
they definitely got some good pieces to play around with. They definitely got some good pieces. Like I was saying, boy, this roster right now is better than the 2021 Bills team.
I would
Right
agree.
now, we haven't even had a draft yet.
Right. And the other guy, I mean, Saffold. I like Saffold a lot. I think that's another really solid pick. Veteran guy, smart guy, but he's going to come in there and let's face it, the Bills' offensive line, aside from Morse, is relatively young. Obviously, Spencer Brown's really young, but Dion's still he's 5th year now, 6th year, whatever he is. He's still a relatively young guy. You put Saffold next to him, man. Now you got a guy that's been there, done that. Every kind of offense you can imagine. Should be dependable, I would think. I think he's an Aaron Kromer kind of guy. So I really like Saffold too.
Yeah, Kromer coached him when he was in LA. So, we got a nasty mauler, another Pro Bowler. So we got a Pro Bowl left side. Dion and Roger definitely played in this year's Pro Bowl together. So I'm quite sure they should develop some immediate chemistry. And let's not forget, maybe Cody Ford can turn this thing around with a new offensive line coach that fits his style. Who knows? He's still on the roster.
Right. All right. Well, listen, I know like we talked a couple episodes ago about if we're, doing our online gaming now or whatever, and, do we make wagers? So I'm going to wager with you on Cody Ford. I got to think about what we should bet that would be fun, but I have absolutely zero faith in Cody Ford and zero, none. I just think that guy mailed it in and whatever. I hope he does great. I hope Kromer can work some magic and make him into something. But man, I got nothing no love for Cody Ford from this guy.
No love for Cody.
Man. No love for Cody Ford.
If they release him, they could save some money this year. I think they saved $1.5 million if he's to be released. So I mean, jury's still out on that. So who knows? I'm quite sure the Bills are definitely going to look in the draft for some interior linemen.
For sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Obviously around the league it's been crazy, around the AFC has been crazy, and now everybody's talking about the Dolphins. Holy cow. I mean, the Dolphins, they bring in the Ivy League guy from San Francisco to be their head coach, and he's going bananas. I mean, just absolutely bananas. Everyone thought the Dolphins were dead after the Brian Flores thing and Tua's junk and yada, yada, yada. And holy cow, have they crushed it. They have absolutely crushed it. Forget about Tyreek Hill, who we already talked about. And I know everyone's saying, well, you got to have a guy that's going to be able to get him the ball, blah, blah, blah. And, and Tua, jury remains out on him. I think everyone would agree on that. But he's got Teron Armstead now. That's pretty solid. Now, granted, it's not his backside. I mean, Teron Armstead is a left tackle and Tua is left-handed. So I don't even know who the Dolphin right tackle is. But, man, they get him. They get Chase Edmonds, who's a dynamic back. They made some really significant moves this offseason. And, in the division, you got to look at them as right behind the Bills. Not close, but next in line in the division. Would you agree?
I'm gonna say that's kind of tough. I can't count Belichick out. I don't care who in the hell Miami has. I just can't count Bill Belichick out. So I'm gonna say no right now. I know they got Tyreek Hill and all of that. I'm still going with Bill Belichick to hold that second place down. I mean they almost made the playoffs last year. So I mean, who did they lose off a team?
Well, I mean they lost their center. Ted Karras is gone.
Yeah, they lost their corner. They lost J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty significant people.
Mm-hmm.
Was Karras the center or the guard? Because I know David Andrews was there too, but whatever.
He was center. So center, but he was versatile. He can play guard.
Yeah.
As well.
So those are pretty significant. J.C. Jackson's really significant, right? I mean, his interception numbers are unmatched, really, the last couple of years. So that's going to be tough for them to replace. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, rather, and I don't know how he left and if it was on good or bad terms, but I mean, they can bring Gilmore back too and, put him in there if they needed to. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see I said it on Twitter. The Dolphin coach, yeah, he's made some really interesting maneuvers in terms of free agency. I guess the biggest question is, can he game manage, and can he, play call that way? I mean, yeah, okay, you've given yourself the guys to make things happen, but can you get them to execute, and will your scheme work for them? So I think that's the biggest question in Miami, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, I mean, we can't just. I mean, you got Chad Johnson saying that they're going to beat the Bills now because they got Tyreek Hill. Okay, all right. So you want me to believe that Ernesto was a stoolie because Sosa said so? Come on, Ocho. Come on now. This is going nuts right now. What did people say anything these days?
Oh yeah.
Now he is a dynamic player, but we're not going to lose a game in Miami because of Tyreek Hill. Now we're going to see, was it Tyreek Hill or was it the quarterback? You know what I mean? So Tua has to get Tyreek Hill the ball, and you can't get Tyreek the ball when you're on the ground. All right. So,
right. I mean, they added Connor Williams too. They had Mostert, who's another dynamic back. I mean, Bridgewater, can he play if they needed him to? I guess. Cedric Wilson's a nice receiver too, by the way. In addition to Jalen Waddle, man, I mean, I don't know. I think the Dolphin offense all by itself is better than New England's or the Jets, but largely in part because of Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Yeah,
still got to coach him.
That's right.
How is this new guy coaching? Nobody knows how this new guy is coaching. You know, I mean, was he an offensive coordinator? I mean, he wasn't even a coordinator. You know what I mean, for San Fran. So we have to say he's an offensive assistant, but I didn't see him calling no plays out there.
Isn't that funny? We touched on analytics earlier, and isn't that like his specialty? That he was like an analytics guy, right? So that's gonna be really interesting. I mean, I love the Bills' chances. When you got Josh Allen, especially in the division, I mean, it's hard to root against that. And now you got Von Miller as a rush end, and I mean, the Bills, I think, are overwhelming favorite. I mean, they're overwhelming favorites, not overwhelming, but they're favorites to win the Super Bowl next year, which means they're clearly favorites to win their division because no one's going to touch them. What do you think? So is the AFC West automatically the best division now, just simply based on their quarterbacks?
Yeah, you give it that. If you're looking at the quarterbacks, I would think so. I would definitely think so. Looking at the quarterback position from Russell Wilson, future Hall of Famer. You got, Derek Carr, who's solid in his own right. You got Mahomes. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame as well. And
you got Herbert.
You got Herbert, one of the rising stars, very rapidly in the NFL. So, yeah, you got, by the looks of the quarterback, most definitely. But how many of those guys are going to make the playoffs? They're going to be beating themselves up.
Yep.
Who are you? Somebody's going to be asked out.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be asked out, bro.
I am really excited to see what, if anything, Matt Ryan can do with that Colt team. I'm really excited to see if he can, reinvigorate that offense. I mean, Jonathan Taylor by himself obviously is a superstar, but you have to have a quarterback that is reliable when he may not be. When people are putting 9 in the box and they're saying, all right, quarterback, beat us, like a lot did to Carson Wentz late in the season, right? So I'm really excited to see what Matt Ryan can do with the Colts. It's this offseason has been absolutely nuts, man. It's just been, and the NFC. I mean, then you got Devontae Adams in the AFC. It's mind blowing what's been happening. Mind blowing.
Everything is in the AFC now. It's gonna be tough to see who's gonna make these Pro Bowls too, because it's just too many hot boys in the AFC right now.
Right on.
Way too many of them. So I mean, some good competition. I mean, and let's not forget Cincinnati. Okay, Baltimore come back healthy. We're gonna see what Pittsburgh is gonna do, what they bring to the table, and obviously Cleveland. So it's gonna be pretty interesting in the AFC this year. But we all know who's gonna win the AFC East.
That's right, we do. And Jacksonville's now got a quarterback guru in Doug Peterson. What he does with Trevor Lawrence, who knows? I mean, they paid $1 million to get Zay Jones, but whatever. They are going to get ATN this year, which they didn't have all last year. Be interesting to see with a year away from football, if that guy, I mean, he had massive, massive expectations for Jacksonville. Now he's going to come back. They think, 100%. It's be interesting to see what he's capable of doing for them.
Oh, without a doubt. Another year underneath your belt. I know you didn't get an opportunity to play, but just understanding the game, hopefully it could slow some things down for him and he could have a real rookie season this year, so yeah, Jacksonville might have a little stake in the claim a little bit there. They got Christian Kirk. Thanks to Christian. Thank you, Jacksonville, for resetting the damn wide receiver market. Like,
right?
How does Christian Kirk get paid more than Stephon Diggs? That's ridiculous, man. Yep. Analytics, right? Thank God for analytics. Huh?
I guess so. All right, so we've basically touched out. I mean, the draft is still 5 weeks away anyway, so or 4.5, whatever it is. So we still get some time till that, and we'll spend some more time on the draft as we get a little bit closer. But NCAA Sweet 16 going on. We're cheating as we're doing our podcast, watching Gonzaga. I think are they losing at halftime?
Yeah,
I think they're losing at halftime to Arkansas. Yeah, and they didn't play well in their last game either. It took a significant second half for Gonzaga to win that game last weekend. But who do you like that's left in the tournament?
I like Providence.
Really?
I like Providence.
Are you biased because you saw him in person?
Yeah, a little bit. But it's kind of hard because it's like, when you look at it, it's like, well, damn, Arizona 1 seed, they could get knocked off. Gonzaga, they're 1 seed, they could get knocked off. We know Duke can get knocked off. So it's like, would this be the Final Four where a number 1 seed might not make it to the big dance? I mean, it could easily happen when you look at these opponents that they're facing now in the Sweet 16, and then you looking at these games hasn't been easy as number 1 seeds. You know what I mean? So he kind of give you that. Like, I mean, they just went to overtime with TCU.
Yeah.
And what you could say, well, they almost lost that game because they went to overtime with TCU, right? But then again, in the Sweet 16, they'll blow their opponent out. So it's like, it's kind of tough this year because you got a lot of teams now are playing with grown men.
Yeah.
You got guys that's graduate seniors out there, up against one and doneers. There's no way. That's like me playing against my older brother. I'll never win. You know what I mean? I might win one time, 1 out of 5, or 1 out of 10 or something, but it's just not going to happen. You out there with a grown man playing a bunch of kids, that's just not going to happen. So, I mean, look at St. Pete's. Look how they're playing right now. 15 seed right now. So, I don't know. Arkansas, they got good coaching, man, and Musselman there. Good coach.
Buffalo's favorite.
Right, Buffalo's favorite.
Very partial, yes.
So, yeah, I guess I am biased because those 2 teams is in Buffalo, and they put on a great show. If they can continue the process, man, maybe they'll play each other in the Final Four. Who knows?
Right. The tournament is so fun though when you see it live in person, and even I know on Saturday the games in Buffalo were blowouts, right? So, and I know some people. I had friends that went, and I.
No, it was one game. Only one game. Only one game was a blowout. Just about all of them was great games, down to the wire. 2 upset specials. Both 12 seeds beating the 5 seed. Then Iowa going down to the 13th seed, and so it was some good games. Only blowout was
it New Mexico State?
Providence and Richmond.
Yeah,
it's the only blowout. So they had some good games. I mean, wasn't the sexy teams, like the Dukes or no Blue Bloods, but we had some good basketball at KeyBank, last weekend for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So you mentioned St. Peter's. I'm in a pool where you just it's random draw for the Sweet 16, and of course and it deals with the line, so your team has to cover, obviously. So of course I get Purdue giving up 12.5 to St. Peter's. I'm like, oh my god, 12.5 in the Sweet 16, come on. Although I do like Purdue. I when I first heard Purdue, I'm like, and then I thought about it for a second because I remember watching them in the last game they played, and their big men on the inside are so good. They're different.
Yeah.
They got the big, tall, lanky kid, and then they got the kid that he's what about 6'10", but he's like 250. Travion, I think it's Edwards, maybe I think is his name. But two different big guys in the middle, a really dynamic guard. So I'm feeling a little bit better about Purdue after doing a little bit of study on them. They could be a dark horse. They could be a dark horse.
Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, Purdue has been, I don't want to say floating underneath the radar. I think they was ranked #1 for at least 1 week or something like that. Then they got upset, or they were supposed to be #1, but they ended up losing. They didn't get the opportunity or something like that. But this is why we play the game,
Yeah.
So Purdue is definitely, can creep up in the Final Four. Because nobody's really talking about it. But then obviously, they're playing the 15 seed. So by rule, they're supposed to go out there and win by 12 points,
Heck yeah, it's supposed to whomp them. Yeah, but again, every year it seems there's some team, it's gotten so trendy that some team like an 8 or higher gets to the Final Four. It seems like almost every year now, or at least the Elite 8, right? So I'm praying that it's not St. Peter's. I mean, God bless them. I'm sure they're very nice people. But so who did you pick? Did you pick somebody at the beginning to win it all?
No, I didn't. I didn't pick, this year. I just kind of randomly did individual stuff like, okay, this team is going to win. I had Kansas as my Final Four team, going to the Final Four, or a Final Four team that can win it all. But I'm liking Providence, and that's their next opponent tomorrow, or is it today? But yeah, I like Providence. I'm rooting for Providence. I'm rooting for the Buffalo guys. The Arkansas, the Texas Techs, the Providences. I'm rooting for those guys.
Yeah, not me. I I got the powers. I got my Final Fours: Gonzaga, UCLA, Arizona, and Kansas. And UCLA is a 4. But now the big question is whether JJ, arguably their best player, comes off that ankle injury. If he doesn't, that's going to be problematic. But they have the same exact team that went to the national championship last year, or the Final Four rather last year. Really good club. Everybody's the same. And so I actually picked them to win it all. It's a reach, it's a stretch. Most people didn't, but I love, you mentioned it. These are grown men. These are guys that have played together in really big moments. They know what it's like. They've been there, done it. And that's why I picked them. It was more of a gut than anything, but I don't see why it won't happen. Anyway, hockey real quick. Sabres. I was at the game last night. I had the second best seats I've ever had in my life. I was second row, which was so cool, being right next to the glass, and Crosby skating in front of you, and it was cool. I mean, you're not rooting for Crosby, obviously, but obviously future Hall of Fame, one of the greatest ever. But just to see, and for anyone that's never been that close at a hockey game, figure out a way to get there, because it is so much different. The ice is so much more congested than it looks from up top or on television, because the players are so much bigger than you think they are. The skill level, you see it so much different at that level. The speed, the hitting, the facial expressions, occasionally you'll hear what they have to say. It's such a different experience. If you've never been and can get there, do it. And it's especially sweet when your team wins in a shootout and continues their streak at 3 straight, and they've won 7 out of 10, and they're getting hot. And this is the perfect time for them to get hot, because they can roll into the offseason hot and take that and build on it, adding all the players that they will next year. I'm excited about our Sabres.
No doubt. I mean, here is the Sabres and won 7 out of their last 10 games. They're starting to play some good hockey. And, this is a good sign for, heading into next year, even though this season isn't over. But when you look at the Sabres dynamic, a lot of those losses, they easily could have been in a win column, because they let a lot of games slip away in the third period. I mean, drastically. I mean, there's been times where they were up 2-3 goals. You go to the bathroom, come back, the game is tied. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So Normally that would be the mark of a young team that just don't know how to close out games, and normally that's a good sign. I mean, looking at it from a football, analogy in that perspective, yeah, that's just like the Bills losing the close game early in Josh Allen's career, now to the point where they either blowing you out, they've been in that situation before, and they know how to rise to the occasion. So next year, when these guys are full throttle, second year under Coach Granado's scheme, understanding what he's looking for, and then obviously we have our top draft pick and Owen Power there. Maybe they can go out and make a splash move as far as a Goldie's concerned, and let these guys play. I think we got some good pieces. That can definitely be a contender. Going into next season, if not this year, because how many games is left? They haven't had the trade deadline,
18 or
right?
19. Yeah, no, they did have the trade deadline. Just went by, and the
Oh.
Sabres, they traded Hag to the Panthers, and that was it. But yeah, I think they have 18 games left, maybe something like that. So, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're way out. They would. It's virtually impossible. I think they'd have to go undefeated the rest of the way to make
right.
it, which is, we know that's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, they look great. Their attitude's right. And think about it. After the Eichel trade, I mean, Sabres here, Knights here. I mean, they're going in completely different directions.
Right.
Are those two franchises? And granted, Vegas has a million injuries to a bunch of their big Stone, Pacioretty. I mean, they got some significant Leonard. They got significant injuries. I get that. But man, they have just gone in the they're a dumpster fire at this point where the Sabres are just going the other way. It's awesome to see. It's awesome to see.
Right. They're starting to transform. So, hopefully this would be that 6-10 year that, the Bills had, and then next, they've been in the playoffs every year ever since. So, I think we need that Stephon Diggs kind of splash though. We got Owen Power, we got our Josh Allen. So let's go make that splash trade for a guy. Go get Sidney Crosby or somebody. You know what I mean? Let's make the big splash move in hockey too. Get those seats filled up.
So what you're telling me is that somebody for some team is going to score a goal in a shootout that is going to get the Sabres into the playoffs. So the Sabres won't technically get themselves into the playoffs. It'll be somebody else that does it. And the guy that scores that goal for fill in the blank team that eliminates the team that would have been in had they not lost. So the Sabres get in because that other team won. Whoever scores that goal, we're going to all donate hundreds of $1,000s to that guy's charity, right?
Right. Oh, you better believe it. If Sabres make the playoffs, you better believe that right. One, boy. Without a doubt. That's going on.
What else? Anything else you want to talk about? We've hit on pretty much everything. It's good to see baseball back. That's exciting.
You got NBA, and they lift the vaccination up in New York
Kyrie.
City, so Kyrie now can play for the Nets. So we're really going to get a good look on, what these guys what their makeup going to be going into playoffs. My Lakers are just bad, man. Still, you know what I mean. But we'll see, if they can make the play-in series and just take it from there. But it's kind of weird in the NBA. It's kind of weird for the hockey to be having a draft with only 18. I mean, the trade deadline with 18 games left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come? Did COVID make that happen too?
I don't know the answer to that, but you're right. Not a lot of time for a guy to come in and gel with a new team and actually make a difference. Helping a team make the playoffs that's maybe bubble-ish or whatever. Yeah, you're right. It's not a lot of time to come in and find some chemistry with a new team for sure. Yeah, NBA. Go ahead.
It's good to know that we didn't trade away Victor Olofsson.
Right. There were a lot of guys that were like, "Oh no."
Right. Don't send me there right now. We're on the playoff run. Don't send me there now.
Right.
But you look at all our guys that we do.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, listen, man. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all your NCAA. Enjoy your Providence. And what was Cody Ford? Yeah, I gotta write this down.
Cody Ford.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me just give you a Final Four if I had to do a Final Four, right?
Thank you. Okay, good.
We break this down. We got Gonzaga, and Arkansas. You got Duke and Texas Tech. I want to say Texas Tech beat Duke tonight.
Okay.
And I want to say Gonzaga by the hairs of their chinny chin chin pull this thing out versus Arkansas. I love my Buffalo team, but realistically, I mean, they only lost one game all year, Gonzaga. So I'm going to say they're going to squeak by Arkansas. Texas Tech play Gonzaga. And I might say Texas Tech go ahead and pull the upset off. Texas Tech get hot at the right time.
All right.
Stay out of foul trouble.
It wasn't that long ago that they were in the national championship game. So,
right.
I mean,
and pull that thing off. So I'm going to say Texas Tech.
Okay.
Just because they have a Buffalo kid that's there. Davion Warren, you know,
that's right.
He's definitely born and raised from Buffalo. So that supersedes Arkansas beating Gonzaga, setting it up for Texas Tech to make it to the Final Four out there in California. Eastern region, we got UCLA, UNC. They hot. Hubert Davis got those guys playing some great basketball right now. Mick Cronin is a great friend of mine, you know, going all the way back to the Cincinnati Bearcat days, coaching my cousin Leonard Stokes. But I'm just going to say Hubert Davis got those guys playing, you know, at a high level right now. So I got them squeaking by UCLA. Purdue takes care of St. Pete's. I think the glass slipper pops there. And I'm going to say Purdue.
Purdue, okay.
Purdue's going in the Final Four. It's going to be right now. Texas Tech, Purdue. I got a strange Final Four right now.
That's not unreasonable, man. I kind of like it. Okay, so now we need two more.
Okay, we got the South. We got Arizona, #1 seed, facing Houston. Houston is on fire right now the way they're
super
playing.
Good.
Arizona, I mean, I want to say they underrated, but who they really play? You know what I mean? Your Pac-12 competition really wasn't all that great. I mean, you can say they kind of been struggling since the tournament began. Competition don't do nothing but get steeper and steeper.
Yep.
So I say Arizona is out of here. Houston, stay hot. And you know, basically that's kind of like a home game too. It's in San Antonio.
Yep.
So just imagine the fans that's going to be at that game. So I'm going to say Houston take care of Arizona. They will play Michigan and Arizona right now is deadlocked at 22. Hunter Dickinson has been playing lights out, but if he goes get cold, then you know that's pretty much the end with Michigan. But Villanova, who's a hotter team right now? You know what I mean? Who's the hotter team? I like Juwan Howard, Fat Five guy, so I'm gonna say Michigan.
All right.
Pulls that one off. So now we got Houston, we got Michigan to go to the Final Four. Jesus Louise. Who do you do? What do you do? I got to go with Houston there. I think Houston has just had too much firepower for Michigan. So Texas Tech, Purdue, Houston right now is in the Final Four. Okay, so we got Iowa State versus Miami. Your true Cinderella Bowl right here. All right. I think Miami just got way too much firepower for Iowa State. Iowa State is going to try to make it a boring, slow game as possible. Miami just got too many shooters and like to play up-tempo style. So I say Miami beats Iowa State. Providence and Kansas. Providence and Kansas.
You can't take Providence to beat Kansas. That's crazy.
Why can't I?
Well, you can.
I mean, Kansas. I did say I had Kansas going to the Final Four. I did say I had them going to the Final Four. But Providence is, you know, I mean, they played damn near flawless. They came out on fire. I mean, I got a front row seat to a team coming out on fire. I mean, how do you not? I mean, the confidence is like straight up here.
I'm just putting down Providence, dude. You have no #1s in the Final Four. I'm putting down Providence.
Not just so fast. Not so fast. Not so fast. Because there's something about Kansas. Kansas know how to pull games out. But if Providence is hot, though, it could be, you know what? The hell with it. No #1. I'm going with Providence to knock Kansas off. Close game. I'm going with Providence.
And Providence beats Miami.
Providence against Miami. And yeah, I'm saying Providence is cutting down the nets, man. I'm going with Providence.
All right. Do you want to go so far as to do a national championship or not? Or you want to leave it like right
we
there?
We could go national champion.
No. Let's leave it
That's
there.
Next week.
Yeah, that's next week. That's next week. All right. Look at this. Mookie's got Texas Tech, Purdue, Houston, and Providence in the Final Four. Interesting. I don't know what the ratings
Interesting.
will look like with that Final Four, but whatever. People like long shots, so it is what it is.
Yeah, this is my long shot Final Four right here.
But look at this. You got the American, you got the Big East, you got the Big Ten, and you got, is Texas Tech Big 12 or the SEC?
Big 12.
Big 12. Okay. So you got 4 conferences. I like that. So that's cool. Okay. All right. I'm gonna stay with the ones that I already picked, just because I'm lazy and we're out of time, whatever. So I'll stay with my UCLA's and my Gonzagas and my Arizonas and my Kansas's. And
for now until
now.
next week, when
That's
you
right.
got to do a Final Four, we got to, you got to customize it now a little bit more different if your guys is out of it. So,
and next week when you come to the screen and you're doing the walk of shame because your teams all got their asses kicked by my higher ranked teams. Yeah, that's right.
gotta do the walk, baby. I don't mind doing the walk.
Okay, all right, fine. And
long shot Muki. If I prove right, then I'm gonna have to start my own betting show. I guess.
No kidding.
My own long shots.
And then I will, between now and then, I'll try and come up with a Cody Ford bet between you and I, bust or not. Okay.
We can do that with Baker Mayfield right now.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, he's out of work. Baker Mayfield might be in the USFL for God's sake. I can
He's
totally
definitely going to
see
be
that.
a backup. He's not going to be starting at all this year.
Why wouldn't the USFL? What the hell? Why not? Like if the Browns outright release him because he doesn't sound like he's tradable, why wouldn't his agents just be like, all right, let's go to the USFL? They'll figure out a way to pay you $1 gazillion because you'll be by far, well, you might not be the best, but you'll be the superstar guy of the league. So I don't know.
That's too much of a risk because if he goes to the USFL and shits out,
he ain't never coming back.
He's never getting the NFL.
That's true. That's a good point. All right, dude. So, all right, you got your Final Four. I got mine. We will chat next week, see how we did, and revamp. And obviously, I'm assuming there will be a lot of other news stories to talk about, Bills related, NFL related, NBA.
We can do a mock. We could do a Bills mock because we'll pretty much know free agency be dwindling down a little bit. So
yeah,
we can start doing a mock. I know around that time I start put my 2.0 mock up. I haven't put one. I put one up already, but it's time to do another one. So
okay,
after next week, let me know. Pretty much.
Last thing. What is the position of the player that the Bills sign last, just in this next week? What position player on the field will the Bills sign? I'm going to go corner. Bull says corner. They're going to get somebody.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with you, a corner. I mean, we need some sort of veteran that's going to come in for the player discount, you know, and play, whether that's Steve Nelson or whether it's James Bradbury get released and, or Stephon Gilmore want to, play for a contender. I know Cincinnati's been on him. I know the Raiders been on him, but, never know. Brandon Beane still got my ABT card, so he might go snatch another, big splash player.
There you go. Okay. I will wager that too, that he does not do that. God, we're all about gambling tonight. What the hell? Mook, have a good week, dude. We'll talk during, and then we'll tape another episode next week. All right.
Absolutely, guy. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, brother. Be well. Hey, and by the way, before we stop recording, how can people follow you on your Twitter account and all that? Where can people see all your stuff?
You can see me on Twitter. That's WUFO Sports. That's my @ there. Or, just type in Muki Hawkins, MUKIHAWKINS, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and you're doing multiple podcasts and multiple updates, and you're always reporting stuff like daily. So definitely check it out. All right, man. Now we're out. Have a good weekend, pal.
All right, my guy.
Be good.
Peace.